All right, now for our third video, we will be doing principal and interest, and we are still just doing simple interest. Again, this is not really real life interest, but we will do that as soon as we get to chapter 5, so we've still got a few more lectures to go. The two equations, that hopefully you remember from when we did this before, are interest equals principal times rate times time, and A equals P times 1 plus RT. Again, I is the dollar amount of interest, P is the amount of money at the beginning of the story, R is your interest rate, that's your percent, T is your time. Now we're actually only going to use the first formula, but just so that you have it, A is also the amount of money at the end of the story. We just won't happen to be using that until we revisit interest in a few weeks. One note, the book, for some reason, first of all, I love your book. I think it's a really, really nice book, but I really, really hate the way they do this. They teach you simple interest back when we did chapter 2, but then they totally dumb it down for chapter 4, and I don't know why they do that. So the book uses T equals 1. Don't do that. This is the one section of the book I don't want you to really look at least this one part of this section, because my homework problems and my examples, some will have T equals 1, but some won't. So I need you to pay attention to that. And I don't know why the book did that. Anyway, here we go. All right, so here's our first example. We have $12,000 was invested between two accounts. Now remember when we did this back in chapter 2, we just had one bank we were going to in either investing money or borrowing money. Now we're splitting our investment. That's how we're going to get our two variables. So one earns 12% and the other earns 8%. The total interest at the end was $12.40. How much was invested in each account? So the thing that I'd like to start getting you in the habit of doing is organizing your information into some type of a chart. Now with the charts that we have will be even more vital in the coming up lectures, but it's still pretty important in this one. So let's read this problem again and put every number that we see in that paragraph into one of these boxes. Okay, $12,000 was invested between two accounts, one earning 12%. Which column does 12% go in? Okay, it goes in the R column. R is your interest rate, it's your percentage. Now when I write 12, and then we'll say that's in account 1, so it's going to be in the R column in that top box. How do I rewrite it? Okay, I don't write 12%. Instead of writing 12%, I write 0.12. because I change it to its decimal form. Okay, the other account earned 8%. That also goes in the R column, but under account 2. So that becomes 0.08. The total interest at the end of 1 year was $12.40. Now does that go in the R column? It says interest, but that's not an interest rate. That's an interest dollar amount. The interest dollar amount is I. So it goes in the I column, and it's the total amount of interest, so it goes down there under total. $1,240 for the total dollar amount of interest. Now we kind of skipped a word back there because it was written out in words. $12,000 was invested between two accounts. Okay, $12,000, we're going to write 12,000 somewhere. Which variable, which column does it go in? I, P, R, or T? Well, we already have somebody under I, and it's not an R or a T, so it's got to be my P. So we'll put $12,000 under the total amount of principal that we invested. Now I kind of also skipped all those ones. We did it for 1 year, so this is the one example that is similar to the examples in the book. So we have 111. Now what is it asking about? It says how much was invested in each account. Which box in that chart is that a question about? How much was invested? That's asking about P. So it's asking about those two P boxes. So I'm going to put X in one of them and Y in the other. All right, so far we've got a good bit of it filled in. Now I don't want to use more variables for I because I can't deal with 4 variables in this class. So what do I know about I? What do I know about interest? Look at that equation across the top of your chart. We know that interest is equal to principal times rate times time. So X times 0.12 times 1 would go right there in the interest column. Principal times rate times time, y times 0.08 times 1 would give me 0.08y in that column. So we're about 1/3 of the way through this problem. We fill in everything that we know. We still don't have any equations, but take a look at the table and make sure it makes sense before you go on. Okay, the next thing we want to do is get our equations. So, what do we know? Is there any relationship between all these numbers in these boxes? Well, I know that the amount of money I invest in the first account plus the amount of money I invest in the second account has to equal my total investment. So I know that x plus y has to equal 12,000. And similarly, the amount of interest I earn from the first bank plus the amount of interest I earn from the second bank is going to be the total interest earned. So I have 0.12x plus 0.08y equals 1240. So the first third of the problem is just organizing your information and assigning your variables. The second part is getting your equations. The third part is going to be solving. Now looking at these, what's going to be easiest to solve? Which method is going to be easiest to use? Substitution or elimination? It really doesn't matter. It's easy to solve for one variable. I could do substitution. It's easy to eliminate a variable. So for this one, I'm going to do elimination on this and we'll do a substitution on the next one, just so we can kind of keep things balanced. So if I wanted to eliminate the x's, I'd multiply the top equation by negative 0.12. Now think about it for a minute. If I wanted, on the other hand, to eliminate the y's, I'd again multiply the top equation, but this time by negative 0.08. Doesn't matter which one you do, just pick one and stick with it. So when I distribute that through, my top equation becomes negative 0.12x minus negative 0.12y equals negative 1440. Remember to distribute all the way through. Adding the equations together, and also note that I have rewritten that third equation 3 times. It's okay. Keep that whole system together when you're doing elimination. Okay, adding the equations together, I get negative 0.04y, because my x's cancel, equals negative 200. Divide by negative 0.04, and we get y is equal to 5,000. So we have one of the variables, we need to find the other. In elimination, what do? Plug it into either of the original equations. It just so happens the first equation is a little easier, so we'll do that one. X plus 5,000, because y is 5,000, equals 12,000. So x is 7,000, and I have 7,000 is invested at 12%, and 5,000 is invested at 8%. So look at that for a minute, pause the video if you need to, and we will move on to a second example using simple interest. Okay, do this one on your own. Pause the video, make sure that you get all of it on your own. Here, I'll give you the chart first. Okay, now that you're back, we're going to say that we have 12% from the bank and 7% from his sister. $29.50 is my total amount of interest. That's I, it's not R. Okay, 2 years, so I don't have 1 year now, I have 2, and 15,000. Those are just putting all the numbers in the paragraph into the chart. Make sure that all those make sense. Okay, again, it's asking for the amount borrowed from each source, so I put X and Y in for P, because I'm looking for the original amount of money, the amount of money at the beginning of the story. And for I do principal times rate times time. X times 0.12 times 2 would give me 0.24x. Y times 0.07 times 2 would give me 0.14y. So I have x plus y is 15,000 and 0.24x plus 0.14y equals 29.50. There's my system. If you didn't solve it before, pause this video and solve it on your own. Just so you know, I'm going to do substitution if you want to do it the same way. Because we did elimination on the last one, I'm going to solve for x. Okay, now that you're back, we solve for x in the first equation. So we plug it in for x in the second equation. So 0.24x becomes 0.24 times 15,000 minus y. My 0.14y is just the same. My 29.50 is just the same. Next, I distribute. Then I have like terms, the negative 0.24y and plus 0.14y would give me a negative 0.1y. All the other numbers stay the same. Subtract 3,600 from both sides. So we get negative 0.1y equals negative 650, and y is equal to $6,500. Plugging back in for x, we get x is 8,500. So we have 8,500 was borrowed from the bank, and 6,500 was borrowed from his sister. And that is the last example. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a good break.